on our web page, it does say Brightspace down here at the bottom. So if you ever forget the link, otherwise our LMS link is going to be learn.marywood.edu, and that will be it from now until forever. So like the previous Moodle link, it said moodle.marywood and had things. Anytime you need to get to the LMS, it will be learn.marywood.edu, no matter if we change or anything else in 5 years when our contract is up. But it will take you to the login page. All right, and it's the same credentials as Moodle and the Marywood U portal. All right, so let's go ahead and log in. Today we're going to go over the home page, including a mini bar, nav bar, and kind of the course anatomy setup, personalizing your own notifications, and making course announcements. So those are our goals for today. So when you log in to Brightspace, you are on what we call the Brightspace homepage, and this is the same page for everybody. And we have 3 distinct areas. We have the white bar across the top. We have the navigation bar, which is the green bar below it. And then we have the widget area, which is the big space on most of the page here. So up at the top here, where we have the mini bar, this white mini bar is the same on every page. No matter where you click or do anything, this bar will always be across the top. If you ever need to get back to this page, you can click on the Marywood logo. So the Marywood logo always takes you back here. As we move across, we call it the waffle icon. So here's our waffle, and this will list all of your courses ever. It is not the only way to get to courses, but it's kind of a, and so it'll list all of your courses from 2020 summer 2 through now that have been assigned to you, as well as any sandbox courses or shells that you have set up, and our Brightspace Basics course. So this list will be pretty long, and when it gets too long, eventually you actually come up with a scroll bar here. Now, one of the things that you're going to want to do is to pin the courses for the current semester or that you're in a lot. So pinning a course is just these icons here. If you click the pin, it becomes filled in, and it will move to the top the next time the page loads. It's not going to move right now, but if I were to, so here it's weekly course setup. If I were to refresh my page, so like the next time I loaded the page, you can see it's been added to the top. If you want to unpin a course, you'll just click the pin icon again, and it will unpin. And later, they'll just show up in a different order, and your pinned courses will always be at the top. All right. The next area, so we have a couple little like light gray dots, and these 3 icons are grouped together. This is the communication center. All right, so the first one here is message alerts, and it'll tell you if you have any instant messages, and you can also email from within Brightspace. We'll talk more about email in a little bit. But if you get any instant messages from your students, so like they can send you a message while they're on, or you could send them a message while they're on, it'll show up with a little orange dot here. If we move over, next up is subscription alerts. So you'll get a little orange dot notification here anytime someone makes a post in a forum that you are subscribed to. So if you're subscribed to something in the Brightspace Basics course, you'll get an alert here. If you subscribe to the forums that you make for your students and the students post, you'll get a notification every time they post, whatever subscribe to. And then this last area is update alerts. So update alerts will show you, like if I make a course-wide announcement, like this one, it will show up as an update, and they'll say like, hey, there was a course or there was like a site announcement made. Students will also get updates if content is added to a course, which I think is cool. So like if you are in a live course and you're like, all right, I'm going to share the PowerPoint with you guys after class, And then after class, you go and you say, like, maybe it's 2 hours later. You post the PowerPoint to your class. The students will actually get an update that that file was added to the course. So they don't have to, you know, sit and wait around or keep checking, because they'll automatically get a notification for it, which I think is cool. It'll also include grade update notifications. So if you post a grade on Brightspace or release a grade, publish a grade, they'll get notified that as well. Any questions on the Communication Center?
Kat, will you publish a step-by-step handout for what you're teaching us over the next month, as you did for some of the Moodle things?
Yes, I do have one document that I'm working on that's all step-by-steps. And then I have another document that I'm working on that'll be like how to approach transitioning your courses if you're just overwhelmed and you're like, I went to all the trainings, so I saw what to do, but I don't know where to start with my actual course.
Yeah, that sounds like that would be me. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes. So hopefully I will finish those within the next 2 weeks is my goal. So, all right, the next area over here is basically just your profile. So if you add a picture, your little picture icon will show up here. If you don't add a picture, it'll show up as your initials. And then there's a couple things in this menu. So the first one is the view as student. So if you ever want to see your course from the student perspective, you'll be able to do it here. You just click on it. And the nice thing is that you'll see your icon has changed, and it shows you just as a reminder that you're in a different view. Because even I've done it where I've been like, oh, I'm going to view as a student, and then I try to edit something and I'm like, why can't I edit this? And it's because I'm still in student mode. So you'll have that nice display there that you're in it. Down below that, you have profile, my portfolio, notification, and account settings. My portfolio, we're going to talk about at a whole separate time, because that could be several trainings on its own. But in here is profile. And this is where you could go to change your picture. You have an award showcase. So when you do get your Brightspace basic certificate, you can see it here. You can share it to your profile. You can email the certificate to yourself, fun things. You can also add a tagline or interests or hobbies. Mainly, I just recommend at least adding your picture here. So that way it'll come up on the class lists. Next up, under the profile area, I would say it's the most important setting that we have here is notifications. All right. I'm telling the students about it in emails to them directly and in the student trainings about Brightspace, but it will also be beneficial for you to tell your students about it as well. All right. So in the notifications area, you have your email address, but you can also set up your mobile number, and you can choose to get text message notifications for items. So you can choose summary of activity, so they can choose each week to get an email overview about their courses and when they want it. So like maybe they want it Monday mornings, or so they can say, all right, here's an overview of everything that happened last week, and now I can prep for my classes this week. And then you can choose all of the different things that you want notifications for. So like I said, this is really most important to tell your students about, because they can check off if they want to get text messages about announcements that you post to the course. If you're using due dates, they can choose to get text messages or emails when a due date is coming up for an assignment, when a due date is coming up for a quiz. Oh, I'm highlighting the wrong thing. There you go, quizzes. They can choose to get notified about that. If they want to get a text message when grades are updated, they can do that. So they have to go in, and everyone has to set up these settings for themselves. And at the end, make sure you hit save. Any questions on the notifications? Right. On the surveys that we did last year, text notifications was one of the biggest things. So make sure you remind them here. All you do is click register your mobile number, fill out the questions, and enter your information and hit save, and you are good to go. The next area here is account settings. So a lot of these are more for if you need accommodations or use a screen reader. You can update your font size. So if you want your font to be bigger naturally, you can choose to do that here. I think I leave mine on medium. It's not too bad. But most of these other ones you won't be changing. You can adjust your clock if you want a 12-hour or a 24-hour clock. The first day of the week on your calendar, what do you want your default to be? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, whichever. If you like to view your date differently, you know, just some basic generic things for your account. The one thing down here is signing in. You have an online status. So I leave mine appear online when I'm logged in. That makes it easier for students to instant message you through the system, because it basically means when they look at their class list, you'll have a green dot next to your name, and you'll see that same green dot for your students. So I leave that on. If you don't want to use the instant messaging, you could choose always appear offline. But so whichever one you prefer. If we go across the top here, you can choose your account settings for discussions. All right. So there's just a couple small ones. One is the reply, include the original post in reply. So like kind of like when you hit reply on an email, how it always like has what they sent you at the bottom. You can choose if you want that or not. And then always show the discussion list pane. So the list pane is like a little sidebar that'll say all of the discussion topics. So if you need to jump between discussion topics a lot, it's good to have that checked, but you don't need to have it checked. And then the last tab over here is email. So if you are using the email system in Brightspace, so up here on our little email icon, email, you can choose to have these options done. So I have both of them checked. So send a copy of each outgoing message to my email account, and it'll save a copy of each outgoing message in the sent mail folder here within Brightspace. You can also add an email signature. That way the emails that are sent through Brightspace will still have your signature on them. And then display options, show internal email address, show external email address. I just leave that one checked as normal. But you can go through and set those, save and close. And those are all the settings that we have on your account. Are there any questions? All right. So that's everything that is up in the mini bar. We also have this little gear icon. Portfolio category management, like I said, that goes with the portfolios, which we will deal with separately. And audio video note captions would be if you were to make a video note in here. Oh, not that one. But this will have the video captions that it makes, so it'll auto caption videos for your students if you record them here, which helps us with accessibility. Next up, we have our green navigation bar. So this is the navigation bar when we're near the home page. So it has my Brightspace. So if you wanted to just go look at awards, calendar, eventually we'll talk more about the learning object repository as we get more on it. So the learning object repository, the library currently has some things in there, and it's a way for us to share resources with each other without having to copy or give editing access to your course to somebody else. So eventually the plan, is to have a learning object repository and LOR by departments, possibly by majors. So, you could say, all right, I made this quiz. I'm going to put it in, so I put it in the math repository so anybody else teaching statistics could use that quiz if they wanted to. Next up is Discover. So the Discover tab is courses that are open enrollment. So currently we've been moving a lot of department pages in there. So you can see new courses are listed at the top. If something's been updated in a course, it'll move up here. But then here's a list of all of them. And basically, you'll click on it. You can see a little introduction about it, or the students will, and they can choose to enroll. So now I can, my enrollment is pending. But then it'll be a course that they can go and look at and see information in. So rather than doing like self-enrollment keys or things like we had in Moodle there, they will be here. There's also a search bar here. So as we get more and more of these, or if clubs start using them, they could come in and search and say, hey, maybe, you know, I'm interested in the aviation club, and they'd be able to come find that page and things like that. So next up would be the portfolio tab. Like I said, we're skipping that for now. Calendar tab just is a big view of the calendar. You can see the course. So I put everything on the academic calendar, which I haven't done for Maymester yet, but I put the things that are on the academic calendar on the Brightspace calendar. So that way they'll show up here. You'll be able to see them. But something that some people are going to love will be this quick eval tab eventually, because the quick eval tab will let you see everything that you need to grade across all of your classes. So if you have 4 classes and you have assignments in all of them, you'll be able to see them. So you can see here's everything in this course. Here's everything in this course that has a grade associated with it. And it kind of gives you an overview. But there's a direct link to the Learning Object Repository. So right now, like I said, you can see here, library has some things in there. So you can kind of go and look at it. They put some information about it. And you can open it, you can preview it. We'll talk more about it later, but just since it's here, so you can preview the resource that they have and decide if you want to pull it into your course or not. Any questions so far? A lot of it's just quick overview at this point. This part's pretty cool. This is our help tab. So the video tutorials, links to Brightspace's YouTube, and their YouTube videos are fabulous. But so if you have a question on anything and you're like, it's 11 o'clock at night and chat and the chat are closed, you could always try here to figure out how to do it. Another cool thing is the system check. So once again, help, system check. It will pull this up and make sure that your settings are compatible with Brightspace. So do you support JavaScript? Do you have cookies enabled? And are you using a supported browser? So you can do that anytime to make sure that you are set for success. And mostly you will not need to use this tools tab here. It's more for me, but I couldn't get it to just show up for my admin account. So you won't need tools here.
Kat, I had one question with regard to the LOR tab. Anything that goes in that repository, is that something that we posted, or we can say that we want to include it in that area?
Both. After we get them all set up more. So the plan would be to make like a repository, like we could make a CSD repository, and I could make it so faculty that are attached to the CSD department have the ability to publish and retrieve from that post or from that repository. So it can go both ways. Plan here, Common Course Information and Resources, is eventually, it's on my list to kind of, you know, make our syllabi a little bit smaller, and all of those common statements could just be something in your course. So like I would make a course page that has all the common junk at the end of the syllabus that they don't read in every class. And I would put it here and keep it updated. And for your course, you'd be able to go, oh, all right, let me pull it in. And you could choose to pull in a copy, or you can choose to pull in what they call a dynamic link. So a dynamic link kind of works like a Google link. So if it's updated, your version will also automatically update. So fun things on my agenda for when there's time.
Thanks.
But, yep. All right. So mini bar, nav bar, and then down here is our widgets area.
But before you go on, Kate, the discover thing that you were just going over.
Mm-hmm.
So you gave the example of a club. So I could say, do I want to belong to the aviation club? And I could look. Is that also a way to look at courses? So I'm a student and I could say, I wonder what's in developmental psych.
No.
No.
Don't just do, I mean, your department might want to make a department page for the students where you could say like, oh, hey, like, here's an overview or more information about our electives, or get to know our professors more. So your department may want to do that, but it won't tie into any of the actual courses that students register for with the registrar's office.
Okay. And an example of something in the repository would be something like APA style manual.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's, you want available to students. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So then here in this white area is all of our widgets. All right. So some of them are ones that I made. Some are ones that Brightspace has and just automatically update. So the first one is a notice to students to update their email and text settings. So remember, that's where I showed you that they need to, like, they can add their phone number and stuff. So you can tell them all you have to do is click right here on the home page at the top. So we tried to make it easy for them to get it. Attendance notification from the registrar's office. A link to our chat is right here. Excuse me. Our site announcements are here. So the site announcements are the ones that I post like from our EdTech account. And so they are usually community-wide items. After you have read an item, it will stay here for you until you hit the X button. So that just dismisses it. So like if you look at it and you have read it, you can dismiss it. That works the same way in your course. Eventually, if you don't dismiss it, you end up with a super long list. So you'll want to dismiss them as they come up and say, all right, like I saw this one, dismiss. Down below that here, we have our important one for everybody, which is the My Courses widget. We'll come back to that one in a second. If we scroll down a little bit further, the calendar is available here as well. So it'll just kind of give you an overview of the day, or you can look at upcoming events if there were site-wide things. Like I said, once I put the academic calendar things for Maymester and such on, there will be events there. And then down below that is the Time to Get Brighter orientation. So if you have logged into Brightspace previously, you probably get this item, and it talks about some of the things that were here. So if you ever need to get back to this, you hit that launch the orientation button. So remember, there's some quick reminders, you know, how to email your entire class, send individual email type things, what you should do with your course when you first get to it, yada, yada. If you hit dismiss, it will stop popping up. If you just keep hitting the X button, it will come up every time you log in. So, secret. All right. If we go back to the My Courses widget, we have a couple different tabs at the top here. So if you want to see all of your courses, you can see all of the courses. There's a little more here, view all. But here you can sort by semester. So any course that you have semesters for will show up here. You'll notice that my fall 2020 course is closed. So the way that these courses work, in Moodle you had to hide and unhide your courses. These courses are not going to hide and unhide automatically. let's see, I don't have one now, but currently, do you see how it says the date here ended December 26, 2020? If you are to go and look at your other courses, if they haven't started, it will say starts on. And if it's ending, so like this one says ends May 22nd. This is my current one. It's not closed yet, like the past semester. It's not past the end date, but it will be closing soon. So currently the courses are set to automatically open, become visible to students 1 week before the course start date. So when you look at if you have a fall 2021 course, right, it says like August 23rd is the first day of the semester when courses start. So what is that? So it'll say starts on August 16th, which is 1 week before, and that's the day when students can access the course. And then in terms of closing, the end dates, so ends May 22nd, are, I think we did 2 weeks past the end of the semester. So the semester ended, I think, on the 8th. So 2 weeks past the end date of the course is when students no longer have access to it. For students that have an incomplete, we do a special thing. So your incompletes will still have access to it past the course end date, but otherwise that's when your students will no longer have access to it as well. Any questions?
I just have one. So in terms of the start date, for example, my class starts tomorrow. And I just recently moved everything over to Brightspace. So not everything is edited. I'm going to have to do it week by week. So if you don't want people to see things, you just have to automatically close. What I'm getting from it are like, they're called modules, like the individual dates, correct?
Yes, we'll just hide all your modules.
Okay.
Or you can set a start date.
Okay.
All right. You'll notice here, down here, you still have the option to pin courses. So you could go to pinned and you could say, oh, here's all the courses I have pinned. I don't need these pinned anymore. I want this semester's courses to be pinned. So if you go to it, you can click on the little icon and say pin, and pin from here as well. So whichever way is easier for you to pin. As students go through your courses, you'll get little updates on your courses. So like this is a notification that I have assignment submissions, and this is a notification that I have unread discussions. So from here, it's kind of a nice way to kind of see, maybe you're like, which course should I look at first? You can go, oh, the one with the most submissions. Or maybe you're like, I only have an hour. I'm going to go to the course with the least submissions. Sandboxes, if anybody requested a sandbox from us, they show up in a special area in a tab, so you know that they're all your sandboxes there together. And then if you have joined any club or department pages, they will show up in the clubs and department tab. So like if the students were to join like those different program or department pages that we already have up, they will show up here on this special tab for them. You'll notice as an instructor, if you, let's see, I'm not an instructor in that one. Let's see. From here, you'll have the option to change your course offering image, or yeah, change your image here. So if you're like, I don't like this auto picture that came up, you can click change image, and you can either pick a different photo that they already have, or you can upload your own. So you can customize your course that way too. Any questions on our homepage? That's all the homepage thing. All right. So if we were to actually go into a course now, right. So you'll notice the mini bar is still up here. The one addition that we have is your course title will be here in the middle. For anything beyond spring 2021, like this spring that just ended, you will have the section number at the beginning of your course. And part of the reason we did that is so that way if you are teaching multiple sections, you'll be able to easily tell from the top of the page which section you're in. So you'll notice our navigation bar has changed a little bit. So it has things relevant to the course. So we have content, assignments, discussions, grades, class project, or progress, portfolio, textbooks, tools, help. So tools and help. Tools are going to be valuable to you here in your course. This is where you're going to use them the most. The help section is the same as it was before. This first area here is your course banner. All right. And you can adjust it. You can change this image. So if you're like, I don't like these people here, once again, you can change the image. Maybe a calculator is better for statistics. So it updates it. This text, the first time you come here, will actually just match your course name. And if you want to change it, you can. So when you hover your mouse over, you see these 3 dots come up, but you won't see them unless your mouse is on it. So customize banner text. I don't know if you can see, if I can make this bigger. Here you go. So I have like filler text here. So it's the word first name, no spaces, all lowercase, and it is in the curly braces. And that's what allows it to say my name here. So you can kind of personalize it for your students. And it's super easy to change. So like you could even customize it for each week, or like if you wanted to say like, hey, we're on chapter 1 this week, or almost kind of treat it like announcement header, you could. If you don't like it, you can remove it. Remove this banner. Down below that, we have announcements. So you will be the announcement poster in this area. Just like on the home page, though, you'll want to dismiss it after you've read it. When there are no announcements here, it says create an announcement. And at this point, it's just like you've had announcements previously, your headline, content, whatever you want to say. Things like cool. Down below that, we have availability. So you can schedule them in advance. So if I'm like, maybe I don't want this to post till the 1st, so I can schedule it for the 1st. You can also remove it. So if it was like a time sensitive item and you're like, it doesn't need to be up for forever, you can remove it. Remember, if you remove it though, the students won't be able to go back and look at it. So I feel like you only want to use that in special cases. You can attach files. You can record audio and record video. There are also release conditions. We'll talk more about those in a later session. And one of the nice things here is you have the option to save as a draft. So if you started working on it and you got halfway through and something came up, you can save as a draft. It'll show up. It tells you over here on the status, it's a draft. So whenever you're ready, you could come back and say, hey, I want to come back and edit it. It'll give you a reminder. It's drafted, not visible. And then I could schedule it and say, all right, so it's ready. This one's scheduled. It's for the future. If it wasn't scheduled for the future, it would just say publish and it would come up here. Publish. Any questions? So the announcement tool here is different from Moodle because in Moodle, we used a forum. It was actually a discussion forum, and that's what was course announcements. Here they are separate and they are on your course homepage. It doesn't show up in the discussion area because it's not a discussion. So it's only on the homepage here. If you need to return to your course homepage, you can click on your course title up at the top, and it takes us back to that course homepage. All right. If we scroll down further, we have a couple more widgets on our page here. The first one is course faculty, and this instructor profile. And it'll show up with like nothing in it, and you will edit it to put whatever you want about yourself. So if you put your mouse over it, you'll see the 3 little dots that we can click on and click edit. Remember, these are like just the character counts. So you have up to 32 characters for the heading text. for your name. This little icon right here lets you upload a picture. This is just like, you could type about me here. You'll see it on the preview when you look at it, whatever you want. I did like a little social media tagline style. You can type additional items about yourself. And then if you have any links, you could put them here. Even if you don't have personal links that you want to put out, you may want to put out a link to Marywood's Facebook, or if your department page has a Facebook or a Twitter account, you could put them there. If you don't have any, so like say we don't have the Twitter, I can just leave it empty. And when I save it, that button isn't there. So if you don't have any, you can just delete them and leave them blank, and then you won't have buttons that don't do anything for you. One special thing to note about the picture is you have to upload a landscape picture. It wants it to be in landscape. So if it is a portrait picture, it will automatically turn it sideways. And unfortunately, this part doesn't copy yet for courses. So this is something that you have to do every semester for each of your courses. Any questions on the course faculty widget? Great. Next up over here is the course content at a glance widget. This widget is automatically populated. You do not do anything here. It is automatically populated by the content that you build. One of the cool things that happens here, so you can click on it and it will show you the things that you have in that section. And as you click on them, it will check them off. So the circles fill up. So like this circle says 30, or this one says 0%. If I click on it, there's nothing in it, so there's nothing to complete for the 0. Let's do this one. It's only at 11.1%. If I click on it, it's because I've only clicked on this and I haven't done any of these other items for that week. So if I were to go to one and click on one of those links, eventually when I go back, it would move my circle around.
Kat, are the circles just for the students' purposes to see what they've opened up? I mean, does that have anything to do with faculty?
So your circles will change if based on what you've clicked on in your course afterwards, but it's mainly for the students.
Okay.
Because generally, I don't go through and click on every single one of my things, and I don't submit my own activities, so mine are never going to be all the way filled in.
So as a follow-up,
students,
right?
Yeah.
For a follow-up question, as I was trying to navigate my way through things, it had said that for some, I guess I'll say handouts or assignments, you would like require students to click on it. Is that where the percents come in? So if you don't require them to click on something, I mean, I hope that they would, but if I'm not making it a specific like requirement for them, then they're not going to be the percents here.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So like I said, this will be automatically populated based on what we put in content. It does come up with this little bread trail here. So like if you were clicking through and you're like, oh, I wanted to go back a page, there's links here that you can go back and you can see what you were last in, or you can go down and click on a new one and click through and go back. So it's just a navigation tool for the resources and items that you have put in your course. Down below that, we have the calendar. It will automatically populate with due dates that you have. So I have that one's not a due date. So here's a due date for the course, and it automatically puts it on the calendar. So they will show up here. Any questions on our course homepage? Does everybody think they would be comfortable making a course announcement? We went over it once, but just to make sure. I feel like I was a quick speaker today.
Yeah.
All right. So then, give me 1 second. I will show you the app. So, if you happen to be on the go, or if you want to see what your students are going to look like, because most of them will download the app. Once again, on our homepage here. Oh, I lied. There was more to go over in course. I knew I went too quick, guys. Like I'm missing something. All right, so next up, we talked about all of our widgets on our course homepage, but let's look at where these items actually come from. So if you want to add these items to your course, that is in the content area. All right, so content is the first item linked in our navigation bar. And the very first time you come to this page, it will take you to this syllabus overview tab. All right, a whole bunch of mumbo jumbo that I'm not going to get into right now. It used to say overview, we changed it to syllabus. Because of some things planned down the line, we are changing it back to overview. But so this will be the overview tab. So if you wanted to put like a summary of your course or different things, you would put that on this page. The first time you come here, do you see how it lights up blue? It might be hard because I'm on a screen share, but anywhere that it lights up blue like this, you can click on and it is editable. So it'll come up with text items. Down below that, we have bookmarks. And bookmarks are an item personal to you. Your bookmarks don't affect your students bookmarks don't affect you. You can't see theirs, they can't see yours. So a bookmark is just like it is, a place on the website where you could say, oh, I really need to get to this portion of my course a lot. So you can say, all right, I like this resource a lot. I'm going to bookmark it. So anytime you're on a resource, there's a little flag here. You can bookmark it. You can take the bookmark away. But if you bookmark it, it will show up in that bookmark section. So now you can see I have 2 bookmarks, and they're just links to wherever you have bookmarked in your course. Course schedule tab is automatically populated from due dates. So you will not do anything to this page. If you want things to show up here, you'll have to use your course due dates. If I go to full schedule, you can see all of the due dates and things for everything that happened throughout my class. It also includes links to the items. So like week 2 was due on February 1st. Here's all the things they had to do in week 2. They can see if it's checked off or not. Things like that. So if they also, so there's an upcoming tab now. During the semester, there's also an overdue tab. So if there's an assignment and you set the due date for Friday and it's Sunday and they haven't submitted anything, an overdue tab will show up and they can click on it and it's red and yells at them and says, this is overdue, you should submit something. Down below that, we have table of contents. So table of contents is the page most similar to Moodle. One of the big differences here is that you do not have to turn editing on. Editing is always on. But this table of contents page, there's an expand all, collapse all button. But if you hit expand all, this is like the Moodle page. Everything is all on one page together for your whole course. All right, this is the page where you can import a course. So there's also another area that you could do it, but if you have Moodle courses, you could do import course package right here from the table of contents page. Andrea, you'll want to be on the table of contents page. She was asking that question, like, I have stuff I want to hide, even though the course is now open within that 10-day period. So if you hit bulk edit, it will come up and you can go through and say, I want to hide this module, and you'll notice it shows up hidden over in the list here. You can add dates and restrictions. So the one thing you want to be careful with here is a start date is the date that it becomes visible, and an end date is the date that it becomes invisible. So students cannot see it after an end date, and they cannot see it before a start date. So you'll want to use due dates more likely than end dates. But you can go through and edit all of those items. So date and visibility using that bulk edit button on the table of contents page. You can do it for whole modules. You can do it for individual items. If you have something that you don't want to be required, you can click the checkbox and say it's not required, and then it won't affect those circles on the front. If you want them to track it themselves and mark it off to themselves, you can say required manual. So like maybe it's something they have to read and you're like, well, I don't want them to check it off until they're done reading it. So you could leave it as a manual check off rather than an automatic check off. And then when you're done, you would hit done editing. And it goes back to listing all of the sections.
I have one
Right.
question.
Yes.
Can you not hide assignments, or is there a way to hide assignments? The reason I ask, when things got imported from last year's class, there were certain assignments that I might do in the future, but I may not do this year. But I seemed like every time I tried to hit the hide button, it said that you cannot hide.
So let me open. I have submodules because I tried to do too many things. So give me a second to get there. All right. No, that's a discussion. Where is one?
I don't want to like delete them completely because I know where to go, but I just don't want them seen.
So, all right. So there, with the assignment items, right? So things that students have to interact with, I can't change the visibility with an eye icon right here.
Mm-hmm.
But if you hit the down arrow next to it, so all of these little down arrows next to things are called context menus. So if you hit the context menu, it says hide from users.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
So it now says hidden, and it showed up with the little eye that it is hidden. Right. For those of you that used Moodle a lot, this upload create button is essentially the add an activity or resource button. So upload create is add an activity or resource.
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
Can you upload, like if I want to give an electronic exam using Google Forms, so I create the Google Form exam and then it says on Google Forms, you know, upload a link. So if I hit that, can I upload a link to that exam on this in a given module?
Yeah. So you would just do create a link.
Okay.
Say, like, here's one, and then you would put the Google form in here.
Okay. And then hit create. Okay, and then it would upload. And so like during the class, they can open up Brightspace and click on that link and take the exam. Is that how it would work?
Yeah, so like.
Okay, great, thanks.
Just for clarification of that, Kat, if Mona doesn't want everyone to see it ahead of time, though, she would have to like make it not visible.
So
yeah, I would hide it.
I just made it, right? And it automatically takes me to this page. So, and then down here, there's some options that come up. So I can change the visibility if I want, or this is where a start date would be good. Like a start date and an end date. You're like, I only want them to be able to take it during class. So you could add the start date and an end date because it lets you pick the time. So you could say it's only visible while we're in class today.
Okay. Gotcha. Or I could go at the beginning of class when they're all there and start the exam by making it visible. I could do it that way also.
Yes. Or you could even do it from the form and like have your form shut off from responses and then turn responses on your Google form. Either way.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep. All right. So, table of contents. Yes. All right. So, from table of contents, you're going to be creating your modules. So usually when you show up, like how I have all these modules here, you don't have any. But if you'll see this, add a module, and you'll just click on add a module, and you can name it whatever you want. You know, if we're not in hybrid mode anymore, which we're not expected to be, you might not want to do weeks. You might want to do topics or chapters instead, but you can see it. And if they're in the wrong area, you can click the little 2x4 dots, a little handle, and you could drag it and move it up and say, I want this one to be sooner. I want this one to be later. Whatever you need to do with it. Right. Are there any questions so far? So in later weeks, we're going to talk more about the different types of content. So this is really just an introduction to where the content is by clicking the content tab and what these 4 areas are. But in next week, we're going to do creating content pages, sharing files, the inline video and audio tool, and Moodle groups, Brightspace groups. I guess if I were to show real quick, somewhere, this one. So next week, like in the content area, we'll go over creating the different items that are here in the content. So as a promo, one of them would be that you can create a page like this without having any HTML knowledge that has fancy tabs with different content if you needed to help chunk material and whatnot. So yeah, so next week is sharing resources. Week 3, we're going to do more of the interactive items. So that's assignments, discussions, quizzes. And then week 4 is more managing the class. So using the class progress tab, setting up the grade book if you want to use that, using the quick eval tool, and those fun items.